afternoon, Tonopah Valley, and welcome back to another episode from the Counseling Corner. I want to start off with a fun fact for the day. Did you know that only about 5% of people dream in color? So think about that tonight when you're dreaming. Wake up the next morning, try and recollect if you dreamt in color. So a couple reminders. First of all, seniors. Tonight we are hosting our third college application and future planning session. You can join either in person or remotely. I have sent, probably like 16 email reminders to you guys and have only met with 4 students, okay? We have almost 130 seniors, so I was hoping to see more than 4 by now. If you didn't sign up, it's not too late for tonight's session. It starts at 6. And then for everybody else, I've got lots of questions coming our way regarding coming back to school, what things are going to look like. Maybe you want to meet with a counselor. Remember, there is a link on everybody's Chromebook. So the top left-hand corner, I believe, when you are in a browser, go to that. It says SMUSD links. There's a spot there for a counselor sign up. You can either schedule a meet session with us. You can ask questions. You can request a transcript for the seniors who, want to send those out. Lots of different ways. And parents, you as well can use that link to reach us, because sometimes we know things come up in the middle of the night and you think about it. Well, send us a notification through that link and we will get to you as soon as we can. With that, I have some special guests with us today. I have Mr. Garcia, our principal, and Dr. Paul Tai, our superintendent. I asked them to be here today so that they could help me address some of the questions about coming back to school. So, the number one question I've been getting over and over is, when are we coming back? Gentlemen?
Can you take that?
Yeah.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. Nice to be here in the nest this afternoon. I thank you for tuning in. We had action by our governing board last Thursday night was to set an opening date planned for October 13th. So that will be right after fall break, which is October 9th on Friday the 9th. So that Tuesday we would come back, we would have in-person learning resuming. So that's our plan, but we are watching some of the metrics. So one of the contingencies was that the health metrics say it's okay. So the state and county health departments have on their websites dashboards. So we watch that every week, every Thursday afternoon. They put out new statistics. And so we can look at it by school district, we can look at it by zip code, by municipality, as well as by county and statewide. So we're watching within our district boundaries. And right now the metrics say we need to stay where we're at with remote learning. However, they're getting better every week. Everybody keeps their masks on, stay socially distant, and wash your hands regularly, help stop this virus, and then we can get back to normal. So we're looking forward to that. But right now, that's our planned date, is October 13th.
And when we return on the 13th, it's not everybody's back. So just to clarify, there'll be a plan that we are working on to let you know how we safely can come back. So that doesn't mean all 650 students come back on campus, but that will be a portion. We're working on a plan that we'll roll out possibly next week during our next Counselor's Corner.
Okay, thank you. Some more questions related to that. Students are wanting to know, will the times remain the same? I know, Mr. Garcia, you just referenced that we're continually looking at what the plan is going to look like, but do you anticipate students coming 8 to 4 or maintaining the 8 to 2? Any ideas on what that might look like?
Yes, we're looking at going back the same time as we've been in the past, 8 to 4. The only hiccup there can be is that
Buses, I know we're having, we might have some challenges in our transportation department where we may need to stagger a little bit later, a little bit earlier, but we will let everybody know as soon as we can. That's in our plan that we are planning and coming back to is that time, but we're planning 8 to 4, just as we left when we were back in person.
Okay. All right, moving right along. What I want to point out really quickly is that if you have a question that arises while we are doing this, feel free to add that to the chat. We will try to address that during the live session. This is being recorded, so if you are a student watching and you want your parent to see this, don't worry, you will be able to access this when we are finished as well. So we did send out a survey to students earlier this week, which was different than what was sent out by the district, related more specifically to some of our needs at the high school. So if students were asking some questions about plans and what you guys were thinking, that was because we were just trying to get some feedback. It did not mean that we had designed a particular plan quite yet, but we were using that information to help design the plan. One of the questions that came from that survey were, are we going to be socially distanced when we return to school, and will we be required to wear masks?
Yes and yes. Easy. Those are two easy answers. So yes and yes. We are following all the guidelines, what our county health department is saying we need to wear masks. And so we are requiring all staff members to wear masks. I know right now we're not wearing masks, but we have it here. But it'd be hard for us to talk through our masks. So, but we are requiring all students, all staff to wear masks. And when you are at a place where you can socially distance, you can take a break, take the mask off to breathe a little bit. We have some plans where we are requiring those masks, but also thinking about how can we move from having a mask all day to possibly taking some breaks. So we're considering those those conditions when we return back. But the answer to both of those questions is yes and yes.
Thank you. I actually have a question that I think I might be able to answer for you here. It says, well, let me summarize this one a little bit. Some of the plans that we are looking at include options to provide students with continued remote or online access to classes or an in-person option. So we are looking at still being able to offer students the opportunity to access classes remotely or the choice to come in person. The trick to that is going to be that once we provide you with those options, you are going to have to select one, and you can't move back and forth between the two. So once we start in person, if you decide, well, I don't want to come in person, I don't feel safe, I want to stay with a remote learning option, you're going to have to stick with that through the remainder of the semester, just to help us monitor student numbers and ensure that we are as safe as we possibly can. So just tuck that in the back of your mind. What we've done so far is just gathering information and feedback from you. We haven't asked you to commit to a plan one way or the other yet, but just know that when that happens, you will have to make a choice and be willing to commit to that option through the remainder of this semester. Okay, moving right along. Oh, I love this one. That means that we have some new students watching. Will new students get a tour? So I will answer this one too, and feel free to jump in, Mr. Garcia, Dr. Ty. We've had a lot of new students enroll at the high school, which, I was quite surprised. I thought it would go the other way, but what we are finding is that students want to come to school. They are looking very much forward to the different options of courses that we offer, and we know that you haven't had a tour yet. So don't worry, we will take care of you. We will show you the facilities when we are able to return in person. All of that information will be provided to you so that you get to see everything. And don't worry, we're not going to let you get lost. Let's see. Okay. Another one that we've been asked a lot, Mr. Garcia, I will need your help with this one. What about the plan for sports? Do you have any idea what that looks like? And what about fans? Will they be able to?
So that is something we're constantly looking at. We do have fall sports scheduled. There are games scheduled. We have at the end of the month, we have our first volleyball game scheduled. And the early first week of October, we have our first home football game. So we do have games scheduled. Fall sports are moving forward. The only thing is that we are working through is really taking a look at how many fans can we have on our facility, on our campus, and still be safe. So we have counted seats. We're measuring. We haven't decided one way or the other because there's a lot of important decisions that need to be made. Are we going to allow, visitors on campus to watch those games, or are we not going to allow? So we are getting numbers. We're deciding how many is going to happen, but the big picture is that we're having sports. Our volleyball teams and football teams are practicing daily, and we're moving forward with fall sports. So that's exciting, and that's at one point was worrisome. I was worried we weren't going to have sports, and that would just not be good for us. We need to try to obviously get back into the groove, and having fall sports is one way we can do it. But we're excited that we're going to have sports. We just got to figure out the plan as far as fans, because everybody's going to want to come out and support the teams, but we got to be very careful how many people we put in our stands and in our gym.
The next question, I believe, could be answered by either Dr. Ty or Mr. Garcia. We have some questions about efforts to sanitize facilities, buses, the safety of that. What are the efforts that are being taken to ensure that everything is safe as possible?
Well, that's a great question. I'm glad people are asking. So we have developed cleaning checklists and extra cleaning and sanitization. So there's this difference between cleaning and sanitizing. So cleaning makes it clean, but sanitizing removes the germs in a different way. So we bought some special equipment to also do that, where custodians and even bus drivers are doing it on the buses. After a run or after a class leaves a room, they have a backpack and they actually spray a disinfectant, and then in a few minutes when it dries, it's supposed to keep the area germ-free, I believe, for a period of time after that. So we're doing extra measures. We've purchased additional cleaning supplies and equipment and added some custodial hours for additional cleaning and sanitization. So that's a really important piece to making sure it's a safe learning environment for students and staff.
And also wanted to add, in the classrooms, I mean, for our high school students, we're old enough, we can help keep our area safe and clean. We're going to be asking teachers and students to clean your areas after you're done and in between transition times. So that's another way. We all got to chip in. We all got to do our part.
And that's part of it too. Each classroom has a supply of disinfecting materials, spray bottles, and some rags.
Okay, sounds like great efforts have been made to make sure that we are ready to go once we are able to have students on campus. A couple questions coming through the live feed. Thank you for doing that. Will we have cheerleaders? Okay, hold on one second. We'll get to that. And then will the online remote times be the same as well? So still got a lot of questions coming in about what the online and remote options will look like once students return in person. And that's something we're still working on. So hopefully by the next live session we host, that's something we can have ready to go and describe it better for you. But I also, related to that, another student asked, well, can I choose half of my classes online? Can I come in person? The short answer of that is you're going to have to choose one way or the other. Okay, that's just the most simplistic answer for right now. There's going to be some courses that, there'll be some outliers there that might look a little different. But in general, if you're coming in person, you're coming in person. If you're going to be online, you're going to be online. So we will work through those different challenges once we've got the remote and online options kind of worked out. But so hold tight on those things. Those are still coming.
Since we got a couple of those online questions,
Let's give out. So the first three students that got on there and asked a question online, which we're encouraging you to do, we'll give those three students a free Gator mask with the logo on it. Looks like this. So make sure we find out who those usernames are and who asked those questions to get a free Gator mask. So when they return back to school, they have a logo, Tonopah Valley Phoenix Gator mask.
Okay. Mr. Garcia loves giving out prizes, by the way. So if you're watching, make sure to let me know that it was you. I have a guess now. I can see on some of them who I think you are. Let's see. Do you guys have a plan for how we are going to switch classes? Great question, Alexis. How they are going to transition between classes yet still maintain social distance. Stairs, schools, overall, lunches, I'm sure you're thinking about that. That we are definitely keeping all of that in mind as we are working on the plans. Mr. Garcia, Dr. Ty, feel free to jump in, but I can tell you we are looking at staggering different things, reducing the number of students in a hallway at a given time. It's going to be very, very differently managed than kind of what you've experienced in the past as a student, probably in any capacity. So
It's not going to be kind of the free range coming and going as you please. Monitored very, very, I would say strictly.
Yeah, and keep in mind, we're not going to have all 650 students on campus at one time. So we know that we are purposely going to stagger the release times. We're going to need to release certain classes at certain times to an open area, then release another group, and then so there's no mixing, and there's everybody is safe and distanced as much as possible. So yeah, that's something we're going to create, and we're working on. We're working out the fine tuning the last minute and changes before we roll this out. But keep in mind, I think in everything, everybody's going to have a part to do. So we can set up the procedures and the policies, but it's up to us to follow them and students to follow them so that we're all safe. And so we all need to do our part. But yeah, we have a plan for that. So that's a very good question.
I think if I might add just a little bit, Ms. Kirby, Mr. Garcia, so you're going to see some other things that are new on the campus. With the bond that passed last November, we've gotten designs and permitting, and now construction is going to start on several projects, one of which is to expand the cafeteria. So they put some fence in very recently, stuff starting to happen. They're also going to be building another building. So a whole new building built kind of on the west side of the courtyard. That'll be starting in the near future. We've been replacing air conditioning units, so hopefully we won't have any hot rooms anymore. That would be great. And then a lot of other things, some painting, some carpet, a lot of little projects, but good stuff happening, some new buses, and then projects at other schools too.
New football fields.
Oh, yeah, the field.
So if you guys have talked to the football players, I'm sure they're have been really excited about getting on that field.
That was the first project.
Yeah, very first big project. So thank you to the community and our voters and your parents that got out there and voted yes for the stuff that we needed. So tell them thanks for us. We're excited about putting all that stuff into use for you guys.
They're still working on the track. I think it was too hot to repair.
Right.
Brings me back to the question that was asked about cheerleaders. So you mentioned football. Are we going to be able to have a cheerleading squad this year? Do you know?
Yeah, I don't. I would have to get with Mr. Lefevre, but I don't see why not. If we're going to have football games, we're going to have we need cheerleaders. So there's no plans for not having any of the sports that we have and activities that we have in the fall. So we're excited. We just got to get with our coaches and get communicating and start that process. But you should start to see in some emails. I know that Ms. Kirby's always sending emails. Your teachers are always sending emails. But we're going to start getting in the process of starting our clubs and getting going and just getting all those activities, planned and ready to go. Normally in October is homecoming. So we've thought about that, when we can do that, what we can possibly do. So we're going to have as many activities as we possibly can to make this year as normal as we can, given the circumstances. So we're excited. We just got to, adapt and be ready for anything that comes our way this year. Got to be flexible for sure.
Speaking of emails, students and parents, you may have noticed information coming from an app called Remind. If you've not yet joined that from the counseling department, I believe we've called it TCC, so Tonopah College and Career. Please do accept that invite. I'll send out another reminder about it later on today. And also, parents, if you are not getting emails from what is titled TCC from the high school, that means that we don't have your email address in our system. So please reach out to us somehow. Either give us a call, have your student send us your email address, because I would love to add you to that list. It's a good way to get some information or, help remind your students about some of the different things that are coming up. Parents of seniors, if it's the first time you've heard that we've had application sessions, you might be wondering, wow, why have there only been 4 students? Why isn't mine? Well, maybe we don't have your email address, so just let us know so we can check on that so that you can help us in our outreach efforts. So, I love this question right here. I can answer this one. If I don't attend certain classes, does it affect my grade? Man, I wish I were here to ask that as a quiz question, but I'll tell you, yes. If you don't participate in class like you have been asked to do, it will affect your grade. Now, we are being flexible. We're asking that students communicate with teachers directly and let them know of any anticipated hurdles. We know, like if a storm happens, sometimes you lose your internet. We get it. We are expecting things like that. But you've just got to let us know to the best of your ability so that we can work on that. But if you disappear for 3 weeks and you're not in communication with us, that's a little different story. So do the best you can, complete your work as assigned, communicate with your teachers, and you should be fine. Okay, let me see. I'm not sure how to ask this one, so I'm going to put it out there. We've got some parents and students who are wondering why we are even considering starting school. Why would we not wait? Would there be a reason why we would wait or not wait until the next school year to start?
That's a great question. One of the things we've seen is that with this pandemic, when I say seen, I've seen it on social media. I've seen responses when we put surveys out. I always put a comment box, and so the comments we get, people feel really extremely one way or the other, like being upset that we're not open or being upset that we're thinking of opening. So that's where we're really relying on the health and medical experts. So both state and county departments of health are really driving the when is it safe to return decision. And so we know that kids learn best in classrooms. We've done that for forever, and we're really good at it. And so that's where we want to be. I know most of the students I've talked with all want to go back to school. They miss their friends, they miss the socialization. And so we want to do that, but only when it's safe to do so. So that's why we're considering going back. And again, you look around, there are other districts that have already started phasing in, having returns. So we're actually probably going to be one of the last ones to return to in-person. That's because we've watched the metrics locally within the district, and they're not saying it's time, but we believe it will be time in a few weeks in October 13th. We're looking forward to that, and we want to make sure we do it safely, though.
Thank you. Alexis, that question made me happy. I think she's looking for an extra prize, but she asked about college visits. That is something we have prided ourselves on for several years, is taking students to see colleges firsthand. From my perspective, yes, we are still going to do that, but we have to wait for the colleges to open to visits. They are slowly starting to do that, and it will be limited in a number. So those of you that have participated in the past, you know that there are some popular destinations. And so probably won't be able to fill the bus to the capacity that we did before, but we may use additional buses, schedule more trips. But by all means, yes, for me, that is a huge yes. I really strongly believe in offering that opportunity to students. So yes, thank you for asking that, Alexis. A question about, it sounds like there's some confusion about school starting in January. So I think in the survey that we sent out, that could have led to that confusion. But what we intended with that was to have you understand that if you choose to remain off campus for the remainder of this semester, your option to come back to campus won't be until January. So as of right now, if everything works out beautifully, and we can resume in person in October, we want to do that. Those of you who choose not to do that at that time will not be able to come back until January. So, you've got an October decision to make, provided the metrics come back and say that we are moving in a safe direction to do that. And then if you're still not comfortable, then the next chance to jump in person will be January. Okay, let's see. Some of these questions. Questions about providing special needs to students. Yes, anybody who needs assistance, you guys, that's something that we are trying to still offer while students are remote. So whether that's scheduling a time for tutoring with teachers, setting up a meet to ask questions, calling one of us, lots of different ways. I know I've set up individual appointments, sometimes in person. It's just we have to kind of minimize group gatherings, and that's what we're trying to do. But if you need help and you've got a teacher that wants to set something out, you've just got to reach out. And yes, we can provide support as you need it, and we want to do that. You've just got to communicate and let us know what your needs are. Parents, I'm sure you have recognized an increase in outreach from phone calls. We've got a lot of new staff added to our campus this year, and they're helping call and ask, what can we do? Tell us how we can help. And we just want that information from you because we want you to be successful. We know that there's lots of challenges. So please get the support you need. Ask, tell us how we can help, and we will work through that with you.
And there should be progress
Reports
reports
coming out or being received here pretty soon. I know we were working on those in the office to send those out to let parents know how their students are doing as of now. So parents, keep a lookout for that progress report, and you can always check your grades at any time online through the parent portal. That's probably the easiest way to do that. And also that way you don't have to set up a time and a meeting or call anybody. You can just log in and check your student's grade, and you can check the progress at any time. That's the great thing about our parent portal. If you need help with that, please call our offices. We can get you set up right then and there.
Okay. This one, another biggie that we keep getting asked about is transportation. So what will be the options or, the opportunities for district provided transportation to students when we return in person, and what do you think that will look like?
Well, I'll take that one if you want. Our plan is to resume our normal routes. So the normal routes, which will be posted on the website, there is a portal there as well to enter your address and see when your pickup and drop off times are. But we've also, one of our survey questions was whether or not parents would want to send kids on the bus or not. We don't have extra drivers. In fact, we're short 5 drivers. So if you know anyone who wants a job, we're hiring bus drivers. So having extra routes is not an option for us. So we're going to plan to run our normal routes with the understanding that just from our survey, about 45% of parents said, no, I'll arrange for other transportation because we can't really maintain good social distancing on a bus. We have to compromise a little bit, although the drivers will take some additional precautions. Students will enter with masks or they won't get on the bus, and we'll seat from the rear forward so there's less interaction. And then we have temperature sensors too to be able to take temperatures, make sure nobody has a fever. And also when they get to the school, we have those same things. So some extra precautions, but otherwise the routing should be the same, which is a little bit different from last year. We've got some more kids in the Tartesso development, so the routes are a little different, but on the Tonopah side, they're very similar to last year.
Okay, so it sounds to me that if you have the ability to transport yourself to and from school, that's probably the safest way to do it and minimize your exposure. Is that what you, I don't know, does anybody have an opinion on that? Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, that's encouraged.
Okay. A question about what if we want to still continue with remote learning, but our internet is not great? What can we do? Well, you guys, to be honest, if you do not have reliable internet, you're kind of stuck because that's how you're accessing classes. I mean, there are a few ways around it, but those of you who have been struggling with internet connectivity, you know what that looks like. It's a problem. So ideally, we would want you in person. We know that there are some reasons why some students might not be able to come. So you're going to have to work that out with us individually. We'll just have to troubleshoot to the best of our ability. But it is really challenging to do remote learning with unreliable internet.
We have some options too. I mean, chances are if they don't have reliable internet, they're not listening to us right now anyways. But maybe you know friends who would like to be listening right now and they can't. So we've partnered with Triad Wireless, and I'm not promoting them, but they have a special price for us. It's like $9.95 a month for student access to put high-speed internet, even in the rural areas of Tonopah. And they've been very successful with that. I think they've done about 250 hookups since like this summer. So they just got recognized by the FCC for their work. So it's kind of interesting. But anyway, they have very reliable high-speed internet, and it's an easy hookup. So that's one option to be able to get it if you don't have it. And if you say, well, that's nice, but we can't afford it, we have an educational foundation, the Saddle Mountain Educational Foundation, and they've been providing scholarships for families in need for that internet fee. They'll pay for it during the pandemic. So there are some support services out there where there's a will, there's a way. If you need connectivity, we want you there learning, so we'll figure it out. So contact the school. We'll see what we can do.
Okay.
Again, communication, everyone, communication, that's huge. And I like the comment that Dr. Ty just made. Right, if you don't have reliable internet, you might not be watching this live. You may watch it later on when less people are online or whatever your house looks like. Or those of you that have friends and you know this is something that affects them, please share information about resources. Encourage them to reach out and ask, because we want to do everything we can to make sure that your education is accessible and attainable. So I like this. Gosh, Alexis, I love it. For those of you who aren't familiar, last year we tried to start a new tradition by letting seniors pick their parking spot and paint them. I would love to see that again. Every day I look at that and I see those few, kind of lonely parking spots. So, I mean, short answer is yes. If we can make that happen when we return in person, we want to continue with that tradition. And then that brings me to another question about parking passes and purchasing them. Well, guess what? Parking on Tonopah Valley's campus is free, if I recall correctly. You do have to have a legal, you have to be a legal driver, okay? So you have to have a driver's license, you guys. That is not a permit, okay? A driver's license with insurance. You do have to provide verification of that, but we do not charge you for parking passes. So brag about that to your friends in other districts. You are saving some money right there. A couple of questions, both in the live chat and what were submitted to me about those who want to stay online. Will you be able to do that? We are going to provide opportunities for you to stay. Another question, which I think is really good, and I might ask Dr. Ty and Mr. Garcia to kind of jump in if I don't get this right, but the difference between remote and online. They are often used interchangeably. So that is where some of the confusion does happen. But for our purposes, remote is accessing from outside of the school, and it's what you're doing right now. Your teachers are providing instruction at a specific time. You are still, meeting with your teachers, but it's just not in the classroom. So you're remotely accessing them, usually from your own house or somewhere like that. Online, for our purposes, is more of a use of us with a separate provider. So if you think of Primavera or AZK-12, all of those ads you see online, on TV for online schools, that is a different option, usually offered by a different school or a program. So people who have done credit recovery with us in the past, we have used a different program for that, but we have never been, we've always been a traditional schedule that hasn't offered lots of online courses outside of credit recovery. So right now, what we are doing is considered remote. We address credit recovery through online, but what we are looking into are additional options, perhaps for other online courses when we return in person. So very long-winded way to say right now it's remote. That's the difference. We might offer some online classes as additional options when you return, but we are still working on that. Any clarification from your end about remote versus online?
I think you nailed it. Good job.
Yeah.
You described it well, and there are some main differences, like they're used interchangeably because you're online to access your teacher remotely, but it's a lot of the differences is how kids are counted for attendance with the Department of Ed, and so that's where it gets complicated. But one of the things we've seen is students that think online, pure online, is easier because you can make your own schedule and do whatever. It's just very easy to do a schedule of not doing anything. And I've seen it over many years that kids just haven't been as successful with pure online. So we don't want to set kids up for non-success. And remote learning is the next best thing to being in the classroom. So we've been a little reluctant to have pure online just because we've seen where kids don't do very well, and then you lose a whole course credit and it gets you behind, and we want everybody graduating. So it's not always the best option, even though it sounds better.
Speaking of graduation, that's one of the things Tonopah Valley is known for. We have an extremely high graduation rate, and we are not willing to sacrifice that yet, and based on the results I got from the survey, most of you want to come back. I think a lot of us thought, online, okay, we're going to work through this. It's going to be great. And we are doing the best that we can. All of us are, students, teachers, parents, and realized, wow, okay, in person wasn't as bad as we thought. So based on the feedback I'm getting from you guys, I think many of you are to that point too. And so I've got some questions about If we come back, looks like, are we coming back every day, 4 days in person? Is that what we're thinking? So I can talk about one of the options we are considering. We are looking at maybe an A day and a B day, something similar to somewhat what some of the neighboring districts or other states have done. You've seen that. We are considering that. Looking at keeping students removed from group settings as much as possible, and giving us the A and B day does afford us a little bit less in person. So we are looking at A and B days. And then, yeah, just kind of toggling back and forth. It's going to bring up a lot of questions, and that is something I think I did mention earlier. We hope to have more concrete answers for you at our next live session 2 weeks from now, but expect to see more things posted to the district website, sent out via email, phone calls, all of that good stuff. Mr. Garcia, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, we just, we're excited to get back. And we are looking at a couple of options, but like you said, number one is safety. So we are picking what plan is the safest for everybody. And so more information to come. But I know everybody's excited. What is it going to look like? And, you know, we're excited, but we're also having to make some tough decisions on what's the best plan. And we don't want to make a quick decision. So we're really making sure teachers have input and everybody's aware, and we're all weighing all the decisions before we make one final decision and present that to the district, and making sure we're on the same page and we're rolling out forward and being as safe as possible.
Okay, if those of you that are watching and can see the live feed here, I bet you could guess Alexis is likely a senior. She did ask about homecoming, and that is something we're still considering, which brings me to our first home football game, October 2nd. Fingers crossed that gets to happen. I believe Mr. Garcia already mentioned we're not sure about the number of fans, what that is going to look like. But as of today, we're planning for October 2nd to be our first, and we know homecoming is a big thing. And so yes, it'll be later on if we're allowed to have it. It will look different. I'm sure it will. Like everything looks different right now. But we want to do everything we can to still give you some of those events that you have looked forward to. And then, oh yes, Alexis, I see that too. I love it. Yes, it will be difficult for teachers to teach online and in person at the same time. So that's why we are looking into that. And we are also considering the safety of our personnel, not just staff or not just students, but staff as well. And plus, like, their emotional well-being, as I'm sure Alexis is kind of alluding to. It is challenging. It is. We know it. You've experienced it. So that's why it's taken us some time to design what these are going to look like, because we want to make sure that it is as good as possible for the greater good. We know that not everybody, it's impossible to please everyone. It's just not. So that's why you continue to get surveyed and resurveyed as information changes and gets put out. We are trying to be as transparent as possible with our design and outreach efforts, simply because it's no easy task to make this perfect. Okay, I think I've gotten through most. Oh, you know what? This is a huge one. And I need the help from the bigwigs in the room here. What if the old nasty coronavirus strikes hard? What happens if we have returned in person? Any thoughts on that at this point? I'm sure you guys have been asked that as well.
So I'll jump in with that. I have weekly meetings with the county health officials, and so they have plans depending on the situation. So it's kind of case by case to give us guidance. So one of the things we've seen with some schools that have already opened is there haven't been outbreaks. If everybody follows the rules and stays cautious, we actually can prevent that kind of situation. So everybody wants to avoid opening and then having to close. If there are closures, though, it would likely be very isolated. It could be a classroom gets closed. It could be a school gets closed, but not like district-wide or statewide. But right now, we don't think that will be the case. We're trying to make sure that we do it safely so that isn't the case, because that's really disruptive. It's hard to go back and forth. There are times, though, and this is one of the benefits of remote learning, where you might be exposed to somebody at home or somewhere where you need to quarantine. So if you're following county health guidelines, and we have little flow charts that show what to do. And there's even an online thing you can answer questions online, and they'll tell you the answer. But you might have to quarantine for 14 days. And so that's the benefit with remote learning, is that we want to keep you engaged, because you might not be sick, but you're carrying the virus, or you've been exposed to it and potentially could develop the virus. You don't want to share those germs. So that's where sometimes it might be just a person has to stay home. And that might be probably the most likely case, is that we have some kids and even some staff who have to stay home. They might have to work remotely, and you guys might have to return to remote temporarily and then come back. So that would be one of those sort of exceptions. It wouldn't be necessarily by your choice. It would be by medical circumstances.
Okay, actually, just
Couple more questions. So Alexis, if you've got more, throw them out. But there was something about bus times that will be released once we have a for sure in-person date. Right now, like I said, it's proposed, but the metrics are evaluated every week, and then from then, things evolve. So once we have a for sure start date, bus times and all the bus stops will be released, and transportation, that's something that you'll be contacted about as that happens. And then, I saw one more. Okay. Will class sizes be much smaller? And don't let me forget about lunch. Okay. Always the popular question about food. With the proposed option I mentioned about A and B days, where students might only come to campus 2 days a week. Yes, the idea behind that is that the class sizes would be dramatically reduced to give us the best ability to socially distance. Now, keep in mind, this is at the high school. Okay, we've got a very different situation here than many of the other schools. And thankfully, Tonopah is already blessed to have some smaller class sizes as it is. So for us, I can confidently say that our ability to social distance is going to be much easier than some of the other area high schools and many other schools for that matter. And then with us also taking the efforts to cut class sizes in half, then it is going to be dramatically, the number of students on campus is going to be dramatically reduced. That said, you will not be required to bring your own lunch. So if you aren't already aware, we are currently providing free breakfast and free lunches to students. I believe the pickup time is between 9 and 10. 9 and 10 in the morning. It's just a drive-through pickup. Currently sack lunches. But yes, we are still going to provide meals to students. The way you eat is probably going to look different. Okay. So it's not going to be, the fun, hang out with your friends, go through the lines. That unfortunately is going to have to look different. We don't know what it is yet, but it's just going to have to look different. But yeah, you don't have to bring your own lunch, but you always can.
And also with the cafeteria, we did have some changes in our cafeteria. So you won't probably seeing the same meals that we have seen in the last few years. We recently made a change, and the company that was providing our lunch services in the district changed, and now we're having our own staff in the district provide those lunches. So there's going to be more variety and just different meals than we've had in the past. So that's exciting. I'm sure everybody will be happy to see some more variety with meals and lunch.
Yeah, you may not be seeing that now if you're coming for the free takeouts, but it's not as much flexibility with meals to go. But those meals to go right now, anyone 18 and under can come, and parents can come pick them up for the family. It doesn't have to be a student here; just got to be a kid. Free breakfast and lunch.
okay.
Well, I have a couple of more things from Alexis I want to address, and then let's see.
Alexis is our winner.
Right, Alexis, you win. You win it all. Hey, and you know what, Alexis?
We got goodies too.
Perhaps you should sign up for one of those sessions that I mentioned. You might not be in trouble because your name might actually be on the list already. I'll check. But clubs, yes, and in fact, some clubs. I think robotics perhaps has been doing some things. Esports, maybe. I know, some of those clubs that kind of lend themselves to remote activities in general have been doing some things. But you can reach out to your sponsors, reach out to the coaches, ask those questions, please do. But we want to be able to do some of those things. Volunteering, some of that is still, that's limited. That's something you could do on your own and reach out. There are some community members who could probably use some assistance with different things. And really, when it comes to volunteering, it is really anything that you do for the benefit of someone else that you are not getting paid. It doesn't have to come through the school. It can be, in fact, if it doesn't come through the school, that's even better for you. Set you apart from those that have kind of just followed along with what they've been asked to do. So go ahead, Alexis. Volunteer, document your efforts. I would love to see that. And I did too. I love the FBLA and coffee. I'm missing that as well. I feel your pain on that, right? I feel your pain.
Every Friday.
Okay, one last comment, and this was about finishing assignments. You guys do your work, okay? It's asking the best way to bring up your grades. Do your work. Something comes up, communicate with your teachers, okay? I cannot stress the importance of that. Once you've got, kind of dug your hole, I mean, yeah, you've got to work to get out of it, but it is possible. And it is especially possible in this environment with the teachers we have.
Yeah, get a bigger shovel.
Again, but don't be that student that asks for extra credit and still have assignments to be made up. Don't be that student. Do your work. I know it's different, and it's a lot more flexibility, more independent for most students, and some students are having trouble with turning in grades. But remember, for seniors, we're still having graduation in May of the 2021. So that's still coming. So either you're going to be with us or not, but not doing your work is not going to put you in a good situation. So the time's still moving, assignments are still being handed out. You need to do your work. That way you stay on track, and we continue to graduate 100% of the seniors that are with us every year. So don't be that senior, and don't be that student that's asking for extra credit, and with assignments still need to be made.
Well, I want to thank everyone who joined in today, and a special thanks to Dr. Ty and Mr. Garcia for being here to help me answer some of these questions. Again, a reminder to seniors, I got a 6 p.m. session tonight. Log in remotely or stop by.
Yeah, there's no excuse. You can do it online.
Yeah, trying to make it as accessible as possible. I know that you are, some of you are still frustrated by the time it takes me to respond to an email, but very rarely am I sitting in front of my computer. I'm trying to do my very best, but how about talk to me directly, send me a meet, do something like that, or come to the sessions. And then that applies to all students. There's lots of us here who have been trying to reach out to you. Take advantage of those opportunities so that we can help meet your needs. All right, thanks everybody. Have a great afternoon.